ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्वापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुन् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजना स्वाहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Shashwin, for reciting Mangalacharan so well. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined here on the group and in my house. We are 6 of us listening today. And all of them are saying Danvats to you. And please accept our humble obeisances from also people who will join after we start. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 18. Chapter 18 is Maharaja Parikshit cursed by a Brahmin boy. And the text for today, Prabhuji, is text 16. So I hand over to you, Prabhuji. Would you like Shashwin to read the text and the...
Is it 16 or 17?
$17, Prabhuji.
17. Okay. It's the one with the short purport. Is that right?
Yes. So,
yeah.
Prabhuji, would you like us to read the text?
No, it's okay. I can read the text. Unfortunately, I don't have a book where I am. I'm not staying at the temple. I'm staying at an apartment nearby. So I'd no chance to go to the temple to collect the book. So I'm just reading from my tiny little microscopic phone. So please forgive me if I miss out on one of the words, because I'm hopeless with technology. Anyway. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananganashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tana Param Punyam Sambritartam Akyanam Atya Bhuta Yoga Nishtam Akyahya Ananta Charito Papanam Parikshitam Bhagavatam Viramam. Translation. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. What was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit and what is very dear to the pure devotees is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is mainly full of the narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is the science of Bhakti Yoga, or the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, it is para, or supreme. Because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with the devotional service of the Lord. Very nice purport. Prabhupada has put a lot into so few words. I don't know how Prabhupada does it, but he does it every single time. So here again, the chronology of the time is going backwards and forwards. So the sages of Naimisharanya, they're asking Sutta Goswami, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken by Maharaj Parikshit. So it's again going between the time when Maharaj Parikshit was still, it's the time factor is going backwards and forwards between when Maharaj Parikshit was still hearing the narrations from Shukadeva Goswami, and it's then going ahead to after Maharaj Parikshit was killed by the Tarksha demon, the snake bird. And then it's saying, they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, but they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. So we were doing the Bhagavad Gita while I was in Nakura. We were discussing the whole aspect of bhakti yoga and what it means. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport, what was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit and what is very dear to the pure devotees is Srimad Bhagavatam. It's mainly full of the narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is the science of Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service of the Lord. Prabhupada always comes back to this point. It's okay to be engaged in some kind of religious activity, to be engaged to some extent in pious activity, which is related to religion, and to go through, as we do also in our society, we go through the ritualistic process of various temple ceremonies every day, starting with Mangal Arati, evening Arati, offering Raj Bhog and singing different songs throughout the day at different times, worshipping Tulsi Devi. But all these things, they have to be combined with devotional service. Everything is centered around that point. And we see in the next sentence, Prabhupada is saying, thus it is para, or supreme. So the word para, coming from the English word, actually paramount, which means supreme. So it's going back, all the languages in the world, they all go back to Sanskrit. And in many cases, it's pretty obvious where the English or the French or the German word is coming from. You can see it straight away that it's a Sanskrit word. Because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with the devotional service of the Lord. So this is the crucial point. Enriched with the devotional service of the Lord. And the whole purpose of the Bhagavatam is to find where the key is in us enriching our own lives individually in the service to the Lord. We were discussing in class this morning how why is it that so many people who are born into life, what the population of the planet, 8 or 9 billion people, and yet so few people, although engaged in religious activities, at least on the external platform, have no notion of what is true spirituality. I spent a day with one Sikh man here in Kisumu, and he's more or less given up attending the Gurudwara. It was really surprising to me, and he's coming to our temple, and he's engaging very much with serving the devotees, serving Krishna, still wears his turban, carries his sword and all that kind of stuff. On the external stuff, looks for all the practical purposes like a Sikh, but now he's serving Krishna. He said there was just a ritualistic process of reading the Guru Granth Sahib, but there was no spirituality. Nobody was connecting with God as a person. He felt he needed something deeper than just reading the Guru Granth Sahib and going through the rituals. The same with all the devotees who joined Srila Prabhupada in the early days, where we've been reading the Leela Amrita daily also here. The devotees who joined Srila Prabhupada in the early days, they were only interested in joining Srila Prabhupada because they were fed up with their own background and their own kind of ritualistic process of their religious background, whether they came from Judaism or Christianity or Islam or whatever they came from. Mostly it was Jews and mostly Christians. And they joined Prabhupada because Prabhupada was offering an alternative that had a sweetness, that had juice. It's like Prabhupada has described so many times, trying to experience God through these ritualistic processes is like trying to enjoy the honey by licking the outside of the jar. It simply doesn't work. So in our devotional creeper, it's not that we're considering ourselves superior to others. We're not. And we have the greatest philosophy, that's a fact. And our mood is, at least in theory, it should be, is one of humility, adopting a process of humility and engaging in the process of preaching the message of God consciousness to the world in such a way that we don't become enamored with the whole process of the world itself, become enamored with the materialistic civilization. So Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Seshnuna Manina Manidainer Katanya Sadahari. One should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself Lord on the straw on the street, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others. And when we do this, then we can engage with the personal process of engaging with Krishna as a person, and not just simply going through the rituals of doing our daily chores, either in the temple or outside the temple. If there's actual devotional service, it means we serve with devotion. I was listening to Prabhupada today, and he was talking about Western civilization, where most of us are a product of this Western civilization. And as we all know, whether we come from an Indian background or an African background or whatever, everybody's rushing headlong towards the so-called enlightened Western civilization, which when we live in those so-called enlightened Western civilizations, we know they're anything but, quite the opposite. And the so-called underdeveloped countries where people are rushing headlong towards the Western countries to try and get a visa and get work permits and go and live in these places. The places where they're leaving are far superior, especially in spirituality, and especially in the concept of having a personal God. And then you go to Western civilizations and the whole place is just falling apart. There's absolutely nothing to offer to the world. But of course, the illusion is there that the more we advance materially and the more we develop rockets to fly into outer space and send satellites up and make mobile phones and make instant communication and a cashless society so as they can exercise more control over everything, then the more we think we're advancing. We're not. We're quite the contrary. We're going backwards. But that's the illusion. And the illusion applies to a lesser or a greater extent throughout the world, whether it's a so-called underdeveloped country or a developed country. The illusion is very strong. And what have we produced from this illusory concept of running like a donkey after a carrot, hoping that one day we'll we'll reach the holy grail and be able to actually eat that carrot. What have we achieved? If we analyze it, we haven't achieved very much. Yes, we've moved forward so-called scientifically, with technological advancement. I'm talking to you through the means of technology. That's certainly an advancement. Nobody can deny that. Just like there is satisfaction in somebody just going completely wild with the senses and allowing the senses to run wild. Prabhupada says on so many occasions, yes, there is some satisfaction. There's some satisfaction for people who go out and drink and take drugs and engage in sexual activity. Yes, there is some satisfaction there. But the problem is, it ends. We were discussing at the student union last week in Nairobi, and how, when you go out, we gave a talk at the student center that we're running at Juja. We gave a talk on the weekend. There weren't so many students, and one of the students remarked, well, it's time for everybody to go out and enjoy themselves. So the enjoyment that comes from what? You wake up in the morning with a hangover after so-called enjoying yourself, and what have you got in your pocket? Your pockets are empty. And then you got a hangover, you're wrecking your body, and it just goes on and on and on. So there's absolutely nothing to be shown, there's nothing to be gained. So Krishna is saying here that I read the opulence of the absolute. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. So Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport here that people, instead of worshiping God, they're worshiping their dog. So they take their dog for a walk, they clean up after their dog, and everything is geared towards a dog society. And they go around with their little bags of gulab jamuns to throw in the bin at the end of their walking with their dog. So and this is glorified. I mean, you have this thing it goes on in Birmingham every year. They have this Krups show for dogs, and thousands and thousands of dogs participate in this, and it's glorified. They put it on the BBC 24 hours a day, and people come along polishing their dog and brushing them and polishing their toenails and everything. I mean, this is the way Western society has come. And they're watching Coronation Street and EastEnders like they're hanging on like it's like a Mahabharata or something. And this is it. This is what people have come to. I mean, it's completely and totally degraded. And this is what is eulogized as this is something that the rest of the world should be aspiring to. So instead of setting up places, we have to get our grip together as devotees. We have to set up and establish places where there is Varnashram Dharma, where there is actually a place for the rest of the world to look at and say, yes, look at that. Look at what the Hare Krishnas are doing. They're doing an amazing job. And if they can do it, if they can live off grid, if they can live, a reasonably polished society, a reasonably polished life with all the mod cons of modern society, without having to engage in this whole ugra karmic activity, then why can't everybody else do it? But we have to set the example. Yad yad acharati shreshtas. We have to set the example for others to follow, not just talk about it in theory. So we have to set up these model societies. And it's time that we get to grip with doing that, because the world hasn't got a clue. Fortunately, since I've come to Kenya, I'm really, really grateful. I don't have access to TV. I don't know what's going on the news. I'm living in a temple. I'm going to Mangalarti. So I don't have a clue what's going on in the politics and, Rishi Sunak or Ukraine or Donald Trump. I don't hear any of it. I haven't heard a single word of it for the last month. And it's such a relief. It's when you're there involved in it, you see it on every single TV, every single newspaper you pass by in the shop. It's blaring. Now there's nothing. And am I at a loss because I haven't heard any of this Gramya Kata? No, I'm happier. I'm cut off from all this rubbish. So this is what, we don't need to get involved in all this stuff. It's not for us. It's not for us as devotees. We just need to concentrate on engaging our abilities, whatever small ability we have, in serving Krishna. Patram pushpam tvalantayam. That's all we need to do. Offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. And I see the wonderful devotion that people have coming to the temples here. Absolutely wonderful devotion. They've got a lot more faith in the fact that they're praying to Krishna, they're bowing down to Krishna, they bring their little flower, they bring their packet of milk, they put it on the altar, and it's done with absolutely loving devotion. It's so wonderful to see. And this is the so-called uncivilized country, which is yet to develop. And there are certainly lots of problems in African countries. There's no doubt about it. But that simple-hearted, open-minded attitude to life, we have to relearn in the West how to adopt that kind of an attitude, and just forget about all the so-called education that we were given and all the brainwashing that were thrown at us in schools, and get back to a more simpler way of life, which is actually real, which is based on the reality of what the goal of life is. The goal of life is to reestablish our relationship with God. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. That's the true purpose of life. Reestablish our relationship with God, reestablish the understanding of who I actually am. And then when we figure that out, then everything else falls into place. But if we just go headlong running after all this materialistic garbage, that we seem to want to accumulate, we have to buy the latest. We have an Apple phone, and that becomes old-fashioned because the latest model comes along. The latest model, Samsung, you pay your $1,000, $1,500, £2,000 for it. It's all garbage. The whole thing is just rubbish. Get the bare minimum that we need to deal with in this Western life, and the rest, just throw it away, just discard it. We don't need it. It's not for us. This is a wonderful chapter. If you kindly allow, I'll read The Opulence of the Absolute, chapter 10. Krishna is saying, he who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all would be, undiluted among men, is free from all sins. This is really, really crucial stuff. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt. Freedom from doubt. This is what Krishna is saying. Freedom from doubt. It is a freedom. If we don't have any more doubts anymore, and we just dive in to what Krishna is saying, then everything else falls into place. The doubt comes in our head, the manas. We have to overcome this manas. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he said, you beat the mind with a shoe in the morning, beat the mind with a stick at night before you go to bed. Of course, you can do it literally, but that's not quite the thing. But if we just don't allow ourselves to be overcome by the mind, just forget about it. It's not you. The mind is simply going to be your best friend or your worst enemy. Krishna says in Gita, your worst enemy or your best friend. Freedom from doubt and delusion. Forgiveness, truthfulness, self-control and calmness, pleasure and pain, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy are created by me alone. Created by me alone. Everything comes from Krishna. Everything. And all these moods that were just described here, some of them appear to be quite negative. And of course they are in the materialistic sense. But if we read the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, we see all of these moods, whether it's fear, whether it's envy, whether it's this, whether it's that, they can all be engaged in the service of Krishna. How the gopis, as described in the nectar of devotion, how the gopis engage these moods, because these moods are there. Krishna says elsewhere in the Gita, what can suppression accomplish? He asks Arjuna, what can suppression accomplish? It's a waste of time trying to suppress your senses, try to suppress your desires, try to just ignore them like a Buddhist and go into this yoga posture and meditating on the Om and, standing upside down on your head and all on one leg, for days on end and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't work. It can't be done artificially. We have our senses, we have our mind, we have our desires, we have so many things that are just bombarding us 24 hours a day. The secret is to learn how to engage the senses in the service of Krishna, not to try to imagine that they're not there. It's like trying to imagine that the body's not there. It's there. It's there. We can't just get away from it. So we have to engage with it. Prabhupada says, if you want to, you want to be a musician, make music for Krishna. You want to be a dancer or in the theater, dance for Krishna. Engage in theater activities for Krishna. You want to be a cook, cook for Krishna. You want to do anything, you just do it for Krishna. You want to be a poet, write poetry for Krishna. Do anything you want to do it for Krishna. And do it with love and do it with devotion, not do it because your temple president told you have to do this and your temple commander or your GBC. No, do it because you want to do it, because you're engaged, because you fully realize this is the purpose of life. Prabhupada used to say an old saying, my grandmother used the same saying actually, one convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. If you're forced to do something, it doesn't work. As soon as the stick is taken away, just like when the teacher leaves the class behind and walks out the door of the classroom, the kids go crazy because the stick is taken away. The threat from the teacher is gone. But when you engage in devotional service, not out of force, not out of coercion, not out of some social standing because somebody will think, oh, if you don't go to the temple, somebody will criticize you, or you don't appear so often enough in social circles. That's irrelevant. That's completely irrelevant. Go to the temple because it's for your benefit. It's for our benefit. Krishna is wanting us to go and engage in devotional service. Krishna is complete in himself. Lord Chaitanya said in that Atmarama verse, when he was describing the gunas, which we quoted a few weeks ago, Lord Chaitanya is saying Krishna is not complete unless he sees the love that we can give to him. And when he sees the love that we can give to him and we're giving it freely, that completes Krishna's completeness. Krishna is already complete. Lord Chaitanya is describing he's not completely complete unless we give our love. When we give our love, then everything, and that's what he wants. We want love. We're begging for love. Our whole life is centered around the desire to be loved and to give love. It's an exchange. It's a mutual exchange of equality. And when we give that, then Krishna reciprocates. And Lord Chaitanya says in that discussion with Sanatana Goswami, when we begin to go on that road, when we take that route, we go in the direction of giving Krishna our love, it's unlimited, the reciprocation that Krishna gives to us. We were reading this morning in we actually, these prayers that we say every day, is the prayer when we sing, that Prabhupada sang, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. The Prabhupada sang every time he gave a class. We were discussing that this morning. I got one of the devotees, I gave class this morning, I got one of the devotees to read out the translation. And in the translation, Prabhupada is saying that the words in this song contain the whole spiritual world. And in Hyderabad, one time, as Prabhupada was singing this song and explaining the meaning of the words of Jaya Radha Madhava, Prabhupada just absolutely burst out into tears. He couldn't contain himself anymore, because Prabhupada realized that the whole spiritual world is contained in this song. And it was there directly for Prabhupada to realize. The other devotees who were looking at Prabhupada crying didn't understand what was going on. And Prabhupada was in a trance for just minutes and then came out of the trance and told the devotees, just chant Hare Krishna. So this is the power of the pure devotee. But the power of the pure devotee, it also comes into us. And if we take shelter in the holy name, we can also engage in such a way that we can also have that pure ecstasy. It's there for the taking. Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Tesham satata yuktanam bhaditam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam bhayanti te. So Krishna is saying here, if you're constantly devoted to serve me with love, I deepen that relationship by reciprocating even more with you. So the more we deepen the relationship, the more Krishna deepens his relationship with us. And that goes on forever. It's incomparable to any kind of satisfaction we can get in the material world. Completely incomparable. Arjuna said, you're the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth, eternal divine person. You are the primeval God, transcendental, original. You are the unborn, all-pervading beauty. All great sages, Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyas proclaimed this of you. You yourself are now declaring it to me. And he's not only declaring it to Arjuna, he's declaring it to us. Why is it called the most confidential knowledge? Why is chapter 9 described as being the most confidential knowledge? Because it's confidential to people who are prepared to first and foremost at least open the book and read it, and then open their hearts, open their mind, open their intelligence to receive the word of Krishna, to receive the instruction of Krishna, to take us out of this place of nothing but anxiety, practically 24 hours a day. That's why, these so-called backward countries, they're in a far, far greater position than we are in the West to try and reach the spiritual abode of Krishna, because everything just in the Western countries, everything just holds us back. Everything holds us back, and yet we think, oh yeah, we're making such advancement. We have. Where's the advancement we've made? We've polluted the seas, we've polluted the oceans, we polluted the river, we're polluting the air, we're polluting the soil, we're polluting the water. I mean, the list is endless. The devastation that we've caused as a human society to the planet Earth is unbelievable. At the time of Maharaj Parikshit, there was one Kali, one who was trying to kill the bull, stopped by the power of the king, Maharaj Parikshit. Today, there are millions of them, millions of them. Of course, they don't have the power of Kali, but they're engaging in the service of Kali. We read in a few verses ago, in the last chapter, how Kali was appealing to Maharaj Parikshit, I've nowhere to go. You're telling me I can live in these 4 places. I've nowhere to go. Where do I go? Nobody's engaged in any of these sinful activities. So where am I supposed to stay? You have to give me shelter also. I'm a member of your kingdom. And Maharaj Parikshit said, okay, you can stay in places where there's gold. And what's the biggest deprivation on the planet today is that the wealth of the planet is slowly reducing, being held in the hands of just a handful of people. So this is where Kali is living, amongst these people who are holding all this wealth. It's written in the Bhagavatam, plain for anybody to see. Maharaj Parikshit said that you can live in the place where gold is accumulated. And where do we see the whole world today, all these big, huge, multinational corporations? What is the goal of their life? Profit, 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 and more profit. and squeeze out the last drop of profit out of the praja, out of the population, and just leave everybody to suffer. And the leaders are engaged in the same way. They're just supporting these huge, big multinationals to just drag the people down to hell. That's their objective. It has nothing to do with whatever country, whatever political party, whatever corporation, they're all the same. And they're very good with their PR, their publicity campaigns, and their advertising, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So unless and until people take the spiritual life, it's a lost cause, completely lost cause. And Western society, we can see why Prabhupada went to New York. We can see it plain and simple. Prabhupada went to New York because New York was the capital city of Kali, the place where it all stems from there, and where nobody sleeps, where the song says that's active 24 hours a day. People trying to squeeze the last drop of juice out of a dead body. It just doesn't work. So Prabhupada went right into the heart of Kali to destroy Kali, to just put Kali completely on the far reaches of the universe, so Kali has no influence. That's why he went to New York. And from there, he spread the movement all over the world, because he conquered New York so he could conquer the rest of the world. And it's up to us to carry that message through, carry that message forward, and fly the flag of Krishna consciousness for everybody. So it's not only us who have been in a position of being so fortunate to encounter this philosophy. We have to pass it on to others. It's our obligation, it's our duty, it's our responsibility. Make sure that we remain strong and we remain fixed in the message that Prabhupada has given to us so easily, so easily. When we came along, it was long after Prabhupada had departed, but we came along and we got the whole message of Srila Prabhupada handed to us on a plate, literally. So now we have to pass it on to others. There's no, you say, well, I'm saved, I'm okay. I'm okay, Jack. What about you? Well, you're not my problem. No, the world is our problem. Just like we were the problem before Prabhupada came, and then Prabhupada solved our problem. So now we've been given this message. We have a great responsibility to pass it on to others. And it is not like it's a responsibility that just dragging us down. It's a wonderful responsibility. You meet somebody who is coming to the temple for the first time. You meet somebody, even a friend, who inquires even indirectly, what are you up to? Why do you dress like that? Why do you wear those funny marks on your face? And so on and so forth. People ask questions like that all the time. Whatever opportunity is there, just take it. So, well, this is a philosophy. It's based on understanding who we are. It's based on understanding yourself as a person. And even the karmi world is beginning to understand that. Unless we understand who we are individually as a person, I was given a name when I was born. That name was given to me by my parents. Am I that name? Of course not. I happen to be born in a particular country. Am I that nationality? No, I'm not. But I identify with that like it's the real me. There's nothing to do with the real me. And then you go to school and you start off at 4 or 5 years old, go to school, then they enhance and increase your delusion that this is actually who you are, when you're the opposite. You are actually the opposite. So they brainwash you for 10, 15, 20 years during our educational system. All this stuff we have to unlearn and throw it in the bin and just utilize it in whatever way we can just to get by in life, but we can't take it seriously because it's not serious, because it's not teaching the philosophy of discovering the self and discovering the self's relationship with Krishna. It's teaching us the opposite, how to go away from Krishna. But the illusion is so strong, we're convinced, yes, this is the real deal. I get my little piece of paper, I get my degree, I get my master's, I get my PhD, and then what do? We go around like beggars, begging somebody for a job. So what Prabhupada said very clearly in a very strong letter he wrote to Karandar, who wanted to centralize the whole managerial system of ISKCON. So there's a central management that was supposed to be based in Los Angeles, and they would manage all the temples. Prabhupada said, no, 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 no. He was so strong, he was so angry. I don't want that. I don't want central management. I want every center to be independent. And he said, I want to create a society of independently thoughtful men. Independently thoughtful. Not going along with the karmi world, but independently thoughtful. This is our responsibility. We can't just be complacent and now, we're just cruising along in our little bubble of Krishna consciousness, and then everything is rosy. We have a job to do. The world is going to hell in a basket. Happily. They're happily going to hell in a basket. They're looking forward to it. They have no idea of the suffering that awaits them. We can't have the same degree of compassion that Srila Prabhupada showed to us. It's just not possible. There's only one Prabhupada, but at least we can be a little bit of a spark that enlightens others that we meet in our own small little way. That's our responsibility. That's what we need to do. That's the way in which we can, in some small way, pay back the absolute brilliant gift of Krishna consciousness that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So, again, as usual, I'm a little tired. I've gone to the morning program and everything like that, and it's nearly 9 o'clock here. So I'll stop there and I'll ask if anybody has any questions. I'd be very happy to answer or try to answer, or if anybody has any comments, I'll be very happy to hear those comments also. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. This is the first time I heard that Kali is at the greatest. I know Kali is at the greatest in New York, but because Srila Prabhupada went there, because Kali is the greatest over there, I thought that was really good. That is a very good.
Prabhupada said that himself. It's actually a fact. And I mean, I'm sure you've been to New York. I mean, it's a horrible place, absolutely. So right into the heart of Cali, Wall Street. He criticized the United Nations. He criticized the whole Kali Yuga thing of Wall Street dominating the economies of the world and just leading people into this absolutely horrible quagmire of hell. It's a fact. Rip out the heart of Kali. That's what he said. I'm going to rip out the heart of Kali and destroy it. I mean, Prabhupada was something else. So you see it in the translation. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. I mean, it's just, I mean, this Srimad Bhagavatam is brilliant as the sun, as brilliant as the sun. We've got to make sure that the Kali Yuga people understand that, as brilliant as the sun. Jai. Any more comments?
Hare Krishna, are there any other comments or questions? Still have some time. If you have any questions or comments, kindly unmute.
Hare Govinda, Hari Bol. Swamiji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Jai, Dandavat Pranam. How are you?
Yes. Fine, Prabhuji.
Arya Govinda is now reunited with his wife. She just flew in from India. They've been missing each other for such a long time. And it's so wonderful to see. I met her in Nakuru. Lovely lady.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
She's here. Just we are both listening together.
Okay, Jai,
Yes,
Haribol.
yes, Haribol. Yes, I was just thinking of like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj said, if you can print so many newspapers, and so many cities are there in the world. If you can
Yes.
print newspapers of all the news, all the rubbish, why not, of the spiritual world, which is unlimited? And then how many news we can print? So
Yes.
that much of message is there from God, and then that much of pastimes we can discuss. So it's
Yes.
absolutely unlimited. Yes, yes.
And as Prabhupada is describing, in so many places, the material world is quarter the size of the spiritual world. So, and all the Gramya Kata that we engage in discussing all the activities of the rubbish that everybody comes up with every day, and the fashion magazines, and that's so destroying. So destroying. It's just such a waste. It's a waste of trees, a waste of paper, and just ugra karma, ugra karma. And yet, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, as you said, he pointed out we could be printing hundreds and thousands of newspapers glorifying the Supreme Lord and all the activities. Every day, we could have, instead of 1 or 2 editions of a newspaper, we could have 20 editions a day. And that's the secret. The secret is to convince people in such a way that they come forward naturally of their own ability and take up Krishna consciousness in that way. So there's no slack. Not just another religion, not just another crazy philosophy. This is the real deal that will save the entire planet. But we ourselves, we have to be convinced. When we're convinced, then we can convince others. No doubts. Just throw the doubts out the window. I'm staying on the 6th floor here. It's very high up, but I never thought I'd see a building like this in Kisumu. My God, this is just unbelievable how much this place has changed since I left. Absolutely incredible. But there's a nice breeze when you're coming from the lake, and I can hear the hippos in the background. I wish they'd just keep quiet. They keep me awake all night. But apart from that, it's nice. It's lovely. Great to be here. Yeah, we just broadcast the glories of the names of the Lord and do whatever we can in our own way and make sure that everything is hunky-dory. That's a quote from Krishna, hunky-dory, by the way. He used those words, not me. So, any more comments, please? Any more questions? Any more ideas? Anything to add? We still have a few minutes left before I fall asleep, or before I make everybody else fall asleep. Jai. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Comments, then Arya Govind Prabhu, kindly please close this session for today. Thank you very much.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. You're giving us the nectar from Kisumu. I request all the devotees to unmute and then chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once.
That'll be a very good title for a book, wouldn't it? The Nectar from Kisumu. Yeah, we should make a book
Jai.
like that.
Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama, Hare Hare.
Panja
Vanchakalpatarubhascha,
kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhuvaya
Kripasinandubhya,
patitanam
Pavanebhyo,
pavanebhyo namo namaha.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari
Srila
Hari.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai.
His Grace
Thank you
Vidura
very
Prabhu
much.
ki Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Thank you,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
very
Hare
much.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.